G'day everybody.
Hello.
This weekend's a big weekend for us. It's 1 year since we actually left Portland, Oregon. So stay tuned in this episode. We're going to cover a few of the things we've accomplished in this time. So thanks a lot as always for following us and supporting us along the way. You guys have made this all possible. We love hearing your feedback. So as always, thumbs up and leave your comments below.
Definitely, yeah. So exactly 1 year ago today, we were in Portland, Oregon. It had been 4 months since we purchased the boat, Varuna here. And over that time, we got everything ready on the boat. We sold our condo and said goodbye and tied the lines. And Portland is actually inland. It's on the Columbia River in Oregon. So to get to the ocean and the coast, we had a 3-day trip down the Columbia River that we took to get to Astoria, Oregon, which is near the Pacific Ocean.
So we spent a month in Astoria just waiting for the right weather, timing the tides and everything to cross the bar there. Columbia River Bar is a really notorious bar, so we wanted to make sure we timed it all right. Blue line represents the slack tide, when there's no current whatsoever, or in between currents. And you can see here there's a negative flow and a positive flow. We also spent the time waiting for David, our crew member who was coming down from Seattle, so we'd have a 3-man crew to head south. We heard David now has a boat of his own and is actually going to head off on his own sailing adventure, so good on him for that, and thanks for his help. We're ever appreciative of that.
So the end of June came and we crossed the bar and headed out. And it turned into a very wet, cold trip very quickly. Our plan was to stay about 100 miles offshore for most of the trip. Getting close to like southern Oregon, about 100 miles offshore or so.
As you can tell, it's cold.
It is cold, cloudy, not sunny.
No, just high cloud. We've got 2 reefs in the main right now and the staysail out. Consistent 20 knots of winds.
However, there were really strong winds in close to the coast in southern Oregon, northern California. So we actually ended up going 200 to 300 miles offshore and still had pretty decent seas and weather. We topped out about 35 knots and probably close to 20-foot seas. But the boat handled really well. It was our first time offshore in the boat. We were very impressed with how Varuna handled and also how our wind vane steering system did. It handled excellently.
Yeah, just hitting the right way with the following seas, but there's also some confused seas out there. So, like that one.
We all overcame seasickness.
Cheers. Yeah.
And 11 days later, made landfall at Santa Cruz Island when we finally got a little bit of sun.
After our long passage, we spent some time in Santa Barbara and also in Ventura, California, just south of there at a private dock, thanks to our new friend Scott. We used the time at the dock to get a few projects done and a few repairs that we had to make after our passage, so that was really helpful. Look at that. We are hand crimped swage.
Crimped up.
Yeah.
Yep. We only planned to spend a couple of weeks in the Channel Islands, but we ended up spending much longer, a couple of months there in fact. We fell in love with the place. The anchorages were absolutely amazing. The hiking was amazing. I mean, wow.
We're anchored right down there. You can see Varuna. Rowed ashore. And then hiked up this hill. On top of that, Santa Cruz Island is a really easy trip back and forth to Santa Barbara. So we took advantage of going in to stock up on provisions and then getting back out to the islands. However, one of the times while we were in Santa Barbara, our dinghy saga began, and Makara, our dinghy, was stolen for the first time.
First time.
We were lucky and got her back though, so that was good. And after all of our exploring on Santa Cruz, we really wanted to get out to San Miguel, which is one of the more remote Channel Islands.
On the night we were going to leave for San Miguel Island, our bowsprit broke off as we were hauling up anchor, and that sucked, but we did manage to make it back to the Ventura Harbor Boatyard. Spent 6 weeks there getting a new bowsprit fabricated. We didn't like the design of the original design on there out of wood. We wanted something heftier, so we got a fabricated one out of all stainless. The guys in the boatyard, really awesome, really thorough.
The beast. Yeah, it's 30 points.
Yeah, it's better than the wood we had on there. So. It was not cheap, but look, we were lucky. Our insurance actually covered that in the end, so thank you.
With our bowsprit all done, we were so excited to get back out to the islands. We headed out, rode out some bad weather, our first gale out at Santa Cruz Island.
This is United States Coast Guard, Central Central California. United States Coast
So that's
Guard,
the gale warning
United States Coast Guard,
for
Central
this area.
California, break. Gale warning in effect for late tonight.
Spray coming off the water. And then made our way out to San Miguel, which is the furthest north. And it was beautiful there. It was totally worth the wait and the effort to get there.
The incredible windswept landscape was amazing, and we actually took 2 nights out and camped on the island. We were the only 2 people on the whole island while we waited out the rangers to fly back in.
I'm a part-time relief ranger on San Miguel Island.
Once they did, we met up with them and took a guided hike across the island to check out the sea lion rookeries.
A bunch of little young California sea lions running around. They look nice and small, and a few elephant seals out here.
Then we headed south to check out Santa Rosa Island and see one of the largest and oldest ranches in all of California.
It was a cattle ranch for over 100 years and one of the biggest in Santa Barbara County. I think it had 9,000 head of cattle at one time.
After that, it was time to say goodbye to the Channel Islands and start making our way towards Mexico.
Our last stop in the U.S. was San Diego. We pulled in there and our dinghy saga continued. First day we were there, we got our oars stolen in San Diego. So we replaced those. And then the project that we wanted to complete while we were there before leaving the U.S. was upgrading our solar on board. So we sourced some panels, found some stainless tubing. We actually removed our full bimini structure and replaced it with our homemade solar arch and a whole lot more power up there.
Solar panels are up and fully wired in. Getting new batteries coming today. It is 9:24 in the morning. About 95 to 100 watts coming out of one of the panels. So in November, we entered Mexico and headed down to Ensenada to check in. The check-in process was very easy, but it was expensive because we had to stay in a marina to actually complete the check-in process there. Before we said goodbye to Ensenada and continued heading south to check out some of the islands.
As we headed down the Baja coast, there were lots of amazing sights. Some of our highlights were Isla San Martin, which was an old volcanic island with a tiny little fishing village there. Also, the San Benitos Islands were amazing. It's a remote group of 3 islands out there with tons of wildlife. Elephant seals, fur seals. All kinds of stuff. Cool abandoned lighthouse. And we also really enjoyed Isla Cedros and the really quaint little town there. And our last stop in northern Baja was Bahia Tortugas, and this was the first place that we got to visit and actually start to give back. We visited a couple of local schools there to donate supplies and chat with the teachers.
We also met who would become great friends, another cruising family there. Edith, Ken, Zoe and Naomi on SV Larky, who were down from Canada, and we ended up spending quite a bit of time together.
We did, yes.
It is New Year's Eve.
Noche Vieja.
It's New Year's Eve.
Tomorrow is Año Nuevo.
We rolled into Puerto San Carlos, which is inside Magdalena Bay, right on New Year's Eve. And we plan to spend some time here checking out the miles and miles of mangroves that were just north of San Carlos here. We woke up one morning to our dinghy saga continuing.
Yep. The car dinghy had been stolen right off the back of our boat in the night. We went in, we searched all over with the police, who were really helpful there, but couldn't find it. We hoped it would turn up, so we headed up the mangroves with Larky for a bit, and came back, and there was still no dinghy there.
In need of a dinghy and not being able to find one that we could purchase anywhere nearby, Ken and Edith had told us about a nesting dinghy that they had on their previous boat, and we looked for plans to try and build one. We found some. Hillary's dad came down, and we set up shop right there on the waterfront and started building a dinghy for 3 weeks. Scrape this down, I guess. And then it floated and we rode away.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. With the dinghy finished, we finally had time to relax and enjoy the area, so we headed up to check out the miles and miles of mangroves. It happened to be gray whale breeding season, and they come in there to give birth to their calves, so that was really amazing. Right here, look at that. Holy crap. Wow.
You got another one.
Baby? I think it's
Another one right beside us here.
I feel like that's the baby and that's mama. And we just saw so much incredible wildlife and nature up there that wasn't really touched by people at all. It's pretty amazing.
As we were leaving Magdalena Bay for the last time, we stopped by for another school visit on Isla Magdalena. Before heading south for a nice day and a half spinnaker sail towards San Jose del Cabo.
Yeah, we didn't want to spend too much time in Cabo. We just did a quick stop for part of a day to get some Wi-Fi and then continued on up into the Sea of Cortez. And we actually got our first taste of what's known as the El Nortes, which are the really strong north winds that the Sea of Cortez is known for in the winter, and the steep, choppy seas to go with it.
From that day on, our weather improved greatly. We've had nothing but warm weather. We stopped by Fraile's for some nice hiking and snorkeling, continued on up towards Isla Cerralvo and spent some great time there as well before having to head into La Paz because we need to meet up with family. La Paz is a great place to be able to have people come and visit. So my daughter Sienna came down and we went out to Isla Partida and checked out the island for a few days. We also swam with some sea lions at Los Islotes before having to come back into town and say goodbye to Sienna.
We really wanted to get back out to Isla Cerralvo, so we headed back out there with our friends on Larky, spent a week or so doing some awesome snorkeling, spearfishing, hiking on the island, and we actually met up with some of the local national park guys.
Then we headed back into La Paz to continue some projects. We learned how to can.
Pack it tight. The airspace is critical.
Another ring. That'll do it. We stocked up on some supplies. We kept searching for some dive gear that we were looking for, and then actually had some dive gear and other supplies come down to us when Hillary's parents came to visit.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, they brought us some stuff down, and we took them out to Espiritu Santo to hang out for a few days and just enjoy the water and the weather.
Since Hillary's parents brought us the scuba gear, we now had to learn how to use it. Ken from Larky was nice enough to teach us how to use the gear safely. And here we are now 1 year later. So if you want to watch back some of the episodes we talked about and follow us from the beginning, be sure to check out the playlists.
Yeah, and if you haven't already, you have to subscribe. We have some really awesome stuff coming up. We're going to spend the whole summer in the Sea of Cortez checking out all the islands and make our way as far north as possible before we turn around and head down further south.
As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thumbs up, share us with your friends, and make sure you leave a comment down below.
Yeah, thanks guys. Until next time. Bye.
Cheers.